Hi everybody, I'm Sally from Recipe Development from ThermoMix in Australia. Welcome back to another video where we're going to be showing you a beautiful winter warming recipe today. Okay, so we've got our beautiful warming winter fruit galette, which is in our current magazine. And if you look at the link below, there'll be a link to purchase. And we're going to be doing it in our beautiful TM7. I'm going to be cooking manually today. We're going to start, I've got my screen set. You can do the same at home to go straight into manual cooking. So let's get started. Okay, so the first step in our recipe today is we're going to make some beautiful short crust pastry. Okay, so this is super simple. We're going to add all ingredients into the bowl and 20-second speed 4. Could not get any easier. So we're going to add in our butter, some sugar, our egg, just egg yolk actually, so eggs separated, and some flour. Okay, and we're going to add a little bit of water. You can see here I can set my scales, and we're just going to add in just a little bit, and now we're going to set our time. Okay, so we can jump to the 10 quickly, scroll up, and we'll get the 20 seconds. And just here, we're going to jump on to speed 4 and we're going to start. Okay, our pastry is done, 20-second speed 4, couldn't be easier. Make sure you use nice chilled butter, okay, and I had a little bit of salt as well in my flour. So we've got our pastry here. We're going to tip it out onto the thermomat. So we're just going to tip out the pastry. It looks really bally at the moment, but that is going to come together. So do not hesitate. All of our pastry's out. Now, if you wanted to here, you could put this on a pre-clean mode or something like that. But at the moment, we're just going to get this all together and it will come together quite nicely, just like that. That easy. Flatten it out into a disc, okay? And then we're just going to wrap it up and we're going to pop it in the fridge for later on. All right, so we're going to go on to step 2. We're resting our pastry in the fridge at the moment. And step 2 is just to make our syrup that we're going to pour over our winter fruits. Okay, so we're going to start with here 50 grams of water. We're going to add in some sugar, cinnamon, cardamom and cloves. That's going in. Got some raisins, 50 grams of raisins, they're going in. And here we've got some sherry and a little bit of vanilla essence. So that one's going in as well. 5 minutes, 100 degrees. We're going to do it on speed 1. There we go. And we're just going to actually pop it into reverse. Only because of the raisins. It's on such a low speed, it probably isn't going to make a huge amount of difference, but we'll just do that so we can keep the integrity of the raisins there and they'll look lovely in our galette. All right, our syrup is finished. So it's going to take the lid off and we've got a beautiful, delicious syrup in there. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to remove our spices so that we can pour that syrup on top of the fruit. All right, we've taken out all of those spices. Now we're just going to pour this syrup along with the raisins onto our fruits, like that. And we're just going to give that a little bit of a toss. And we're just going to set those aside just for the moment. We don't need those at the moment. We're going to make our Frangipane next, and then we'll fill the galette after that. Okay, so we're on to the third element of our dish now. But we've got our pastry resting, we've got our fruits done. We're going on to the pecan Frangipane. Again, super easy, super quick. Okay, we're going to pop in our pecans, all right? I'm going to give those a quick whiz. We're going to do 2 seconds. 2 seconds, how amazing is that? And speed 9 and start. And now we're just going to add in the other ingredients. Again, just a 2-step Frangipane, which is fantastic. Okay, we're going to add in some plain flour, some mixed spice, a little bit of salt in there. We've got some butter and brown sugar. And we've got 1 whole egg. Okay, lid on again. And we're just going to do 10 seconds here. So put it on 10 seconds. And we're going to do it on reverse for, on speed 4. So reverse, and we're just going to do speed 4 here. That's going to mix it up nicely. And in 10 seconds, it'll be done. There we go. So we're all done here with our Frangipane. Now we only did the pecans for a couple of seconds. We want to keep a little bit of texture there. We don't want it just to be too powdery. Okay, and we've got a lovely mixture here that is ready to go into our galette. Be delicious. Okay, so we've come to that point in the recipe now where we've got our 3 main elements made. So we've got our fruit that's in the syrup, we've got our pecan frangipane, and we've got our pastry that's been resting in the fridge. This is the point you need to turn your oven on to 200, preheat now, and then we're going to start with the rolling, and then we will do the assembling of the pastry with the fruit. So we've got this lovely disc here. I'm just going to roll it between 2 sheets of baking paper. Now it's quite hard at the moment, but that's okay. Just need a little bit of muscle. And you do want the pastry to be nice and cold because otherwise it becomes a little bit temperamental when you're trying to roll up the corners. All right, so we're rolling out our pastry to 35 centimetres around there. If you don't have a bread mat, it's going to be a little bit longer than a ruler. If you've got one of our thermo mats or the bread mats, you can sort of lay it out and get a rough idea where your pastry is. And it doesn't have to be perfect, okay? You've got to remember that. It's just a nice rustic winter tart. So we don't need to stress too much about that. And what we're going to do is we're going to lift it across onto our tray. And we're going to peel off that top one. You can keep that for some other pastry. You don't need to throw it out, that's fine. And then we're going to work with our frangipane and we're going to pop that into the middle. You want to leave about a 7 centimetre edge. So it's going to be the main piece in the middle. And you can notice I'm working like relatively quickly, like we don't want to be in a hot room with pastry because it's just going to be difficult to manage and then you'll also get frustrated. And then now we just need to add in our fruit. Okay, so we just want to arrange it so it looks quite pretty when it's done. We've got some nice rhubarb that's going to give it some nice colour. About 125 grams of rhubarb there, and we've got a couple of Bourbosque pears, and then these can go in quite rustically. And now we're going to put all this fruit on top. You don't want it poking over the edge that it's going to put any hole in your pastry. All right, so I've put all my fruit here on top of the galette. Now comes the time of folding in the edges. So we're just going to do this really delicately, but it is going to be a nice rustic look. So you just bring it in as you go, sort of tucking in the fruit like a little sleeping bag, you know, chucking it in. It is winter after all. And as I mentioned, don't stress out too much if you get a little hole. You just keep moving around and then you can sort of, if you just lift it off gently, it's a lot easier to do your little pleats. So it sits like this, okay? Then we're going to baste it. Now don't throw away your leftover syrup, okay? There are some tips in the recipe that you can use that syrup afterwards to glaze your tart. Just giving this a nice brush with the egg white, so nothing wasted here. And then we're just going to use a little bit of raw sugar with some texture. You could use like some coffee sugar granules or you could use the raw sugar, put it over the whole pie. And now it's ready to go in the oven. Okay, so in at 200 for 30 minutes and then we'll have a look and we want a nice beautiful golden brown colour. Okay, so we're back and our beautiful galette is finished. It's beautiful golden brown. We've got some really nice gnarly bits here. They're going to add some nice chew. And then we've got our leftover syrup and we're just going to pour that over So I ended up baking it for 35 minutes. It will depend on your oven though. And that's just going to give it, you can brush this on or pour it on. It's entirely up to you. You don't have to use all of it. And then serve it with some nice ice cream. And this is of course in our winter magazine, and the link is below in the video. So if you click on that link, it'll take you through and you can purchase the new magazine, and you can also make this beautiful galette as well. Enjoy.